Mendel may have been the father of genetics, but he didn't know everything. Pea plants were simple. Some traits are dominant and others are recessive. Mendel had no idea that not all species follow these rules. Sometimes red flowers are crossed with white flowers and produce offspring with pink flowers. In this lesson, we're going to learn all about the exceptions to Mendel's rules. Let's take a look at our objectives today. Our essential question is, how does biological information pass from one generation to another? By the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe the exceptions to Mendel's principles. Let's get our notebooks ready. Be on the lookout for this vocabulary throughout the lesson. Let's warm up. Remember from our last lesson we learned about Mendel's pea plants? And we learned how to complete Punnett squares. In pea plants, purple flowers are dominant to white. Let's cross two heterozygous purple flowers. First, we need to figure out the genotypes of the parents. Let's use P for purple. Remember, heterozygous means two different alleles. So each parent is big P, little p. Let's fill in the Punnett square and complete the cross. One parent's up top and the other's on the side. Now we just need to fill in our alleles. Remember, alleles are forms of a gene. Let's take a look at the offspring. About 25% will be big P. Half of them are big P, and 25% little p. That's the genotype. What's the phenotype? Phenotype's what the flowers look like. Well, about 75% are purple and 25% are white. Now, let's look at some exceptions to Mendel's rules. Not all genes have alleles that are just dominant or just recessive. And most genes have more than two alleles. Many traits are even controlled by more than one gene. Incomplete dominance is when one allele is not completely dominant over another. In this case, the heterozygous phenotype is a blend of the two homozygous phenotypes. For example, snapdragons. They come in red, white, and pink. Since there isn't one dominant trait, we'll use all capital letters. R's will represent red alleles, and W's will represent white alleles. The heterozygous is written as RW, a blend between red and white, which of course is pink. Let's try a practice problem. Let's cross a homozygous red flower with a white flower. What phenotypes are possible for the offspring? The red flower is RR and the white flower is WW. Let's go ahead and fill in our Punnett square. And determine the traits of the offspring. It looks like all of the offspring will be RW. That's their genotype. What will they look like? What will their phenotype be? They're all going to be pink. So when we cross a red flower, RR, with a white flower, WW, we get a 100% of the offspring who are RW, pink. What if we cross two heterozygous flowers? Remember, the heterozygous flowers are pink. So now we're crossing an RW with an RW. It really helps to draw this out. So be sure that you're doing this in your notes. Looks like we're going to get more variety here in the offspring. 25% of the offspring are RR, 50% are RW, and 25% are WW. That's their genotype. Let's take a look at what their phenotype would look like. 25% red, 50% pink, and 25% white. Let's take a look at another exception to Mendel's rules. Codominance is when alleles are equally dominant. The prefix co means together, so here both traits show up together. For example, here's a white cow, WW, crossed with a red cow, RR. In this case, both the red and white traits are going to be visible in the phenotype. So we end up with 100% of the offspring being RW. Basically, red and white spotted cows. We call these cows roan. Imagine this. What would happen if we cross two roan cows? RW times RW. Why don't you try that out in your notebook?